It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of hopes, it's a world of fear. There's so much that we share.
France leads the developed world in skepticism of vaccines.
The country is also in an epidemic state of measles, with 295 reported cases in the first 6 months of 2017.
In 2016, 41% of French people surveyed stated that they disagreed with the statement, vaccines are safe.
In the US, only 13.5% of people disagreed, which was consistent with a worldwide average of 13%.
Des enfants meurent de la rougeole aujourd'hui en France. Dans la patrie de Pasteur, ce n'est pas admissible. L'an prochain, les vaccins pour la petite enfance, qui sont unanimement recommandés par les autorités de santé, deviendront obligatoires.
Following this statement from the Prime Minister, 56% of the French disagreed with the statement, vaccines are safe.
France currently requires only 3 vaccines to enter public school in comparison to Michigan's 6. As we saw from Prime Minister Édouard Philippe, the French requirement will be raised to cover 11 diseases starting in 2018. This is certainly a step in the right direction, and France can be used as a model from which the US can learn. It took an epidemic state of measles to push French health and government officials to mandate vaccination on a federal level. Agnès Buzyn, France's Minister of Health and Solidarity, understands that requiring parents to vaccinate their children is a controversial move but believes it's necessary.
I hate coercion, but there is an urgency.
Americans should learn from France's skepticism and mandate vaccination before measles becomes an epidemic in the US.
Before looking at the controversy, we must discuss what vaccines are and where they came from. In the 19th century, French chemist Louis Pasteur developed vaccinations for anthrax and rabies, setting a precedent for more vaccines to be created in the future. A vaccine prepares the immune system to fight off a particular infection. When more than 95% of a population is vaccinated against a disease, the spread of infection is minimized and outbreaks are prevented through herd immunity. Both the US and France have MMR vaccination rates below this threshold, leaving at-risk populations such as infants, the elderly, and those with chronic disease vulnerable to infection.
The first vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella, commonly known as MMR, was developed in 1971. Measles is a virus that spreads through the air, primarily through coughing and sneezing. The first symptoms of measles appear within 1 to 2 weeks of exposure and include fever, dry cough, runny nose, and sore throat. These symptoms often precede the telltale measles rash by a few days. Complications of measles can range from diarrhea and vomiting to hepatitis, blindness, meningitis, and even death. A person infected with measles is contagious for 4 days before the rash develops and remains contagious until 4 days after the rash has been present. For decades following the creation of the MMR vaccine, parents and children waited in long lines to obtain it and prevent these potentially fatal ailments. The incidence of measles in the US dropped from as many as 4 million annual cases to nearly 0, and measles was essentially eradicated.
Then, in 1998, former British doctor Andrew Wakefield published an article linking the MMR vaccine to autism. Follow-up studies and investigations found the article to be falsified. Wakefield admitted to obtaining blood samples from his son's friends at a birthday party and paying them £5 for their discomfort. It was also discovered that Wakefield held a patent for a drug that would compete with the MMR vaccine, which would make him up to $43 million per year after the vaccine scare that his study initiated. In 2004, Wakefield's study was retracted, but not before a great deal of publicity. Vaccination rates began to drop in France and the rest of the developed world due to increased skepticism.
The anti-vaccine movement is now prevalent across the globe and is increasing in popularity. Parents in the US and France were asked whether they agree with the statement, vaccines are safe, in an effort to replicate the aforementioned survey on a smaller scale. We found that 18.7% of parents in Michigan did not believe vaccines are safe, while 25% of parents in Paris held that same view. One Michigan parent stated,
I think vaccines are much safer than the diseases they prevent.
Dr. Pamela Coffey, a pediatric emergency physician at Sparrow Hospital in Lansing, Michigan, is in agreement and states that
vaccinations are one of medicine's greatest achievements and should absolutely be mandatory.
We visited public health nurses Erin Johnson and Sheila Corner at the Grand Traverse County Health Department, which has a large population of vaccine-hesitant parents, to discuss some of the prevalent concerns. Parents in the area cite many of the same reasons for hesitancy as the French parents we spoke with. We are hoping that if we can effectively address their apprehensions, we can convince parents of the importance of vaccines and help them to better understand why they should not be worried.
We asked U.S. and Parisian parents where they obtain information about vaccines, and while some cited doctors and research papers, many stated that they use the internet and Facebook to obtain information. Countless websites and social media accounts have been created to voice concerns about vaccinations. While anyone can post anything on the internet, there are also celebrities who endorse vaccine hesitancy and help fuel the movement. For example, Jenny McCarthy believes that her son's autism was caused by vaccines. A study of almost 100,000 children published by the American Medical Association found no link between vaccines and autism, and this finding has been replicated time and time again. Seth Mnookin, co-director of MIT's graduate program in science writing, often tells parents he is as confident that there's no link between vaccines and autism as he is that if he were to walk off a building, he would not be able to fly.
Some parents also voice concerns about unnatural ingredients causing negative side effects. A French parent stated that
vaccines are responsible for great diseases and deaths,
but did not provide evidence for this claim. Common side effects of the MMR vaccine include fever and rash at the injection site, which occur in 5 to 15 out of every 100 doses administered. The likelihood of having a severe adverse reaction to the MMR vaccine is minuscule, while the chances of an unvaccinated child contracting measles if they come into contact with the virus is 90%. One ingredient that many parents are fearful of is thimerosal, which is a derivative of mercury that has been found to be safe in a variety of studies. To alleviate parental concerns, thimerosal has not been included in most vaccines since 2001. It is also important to note that biological vaccine components pose a minute threat to a child's immune system in comparison to the trillions of bacteria that are encountered in everyday life.
Additionally, U.S. President Donald Trump has stated that we give our children too many vaccines at once. In a series of tweets in 2014, he proposed that vaccines be spread out over a longer period of time and states, "We have nothing to lose" by doing so. However, alternative vaccine schedules increase the amount of time that a young child lacks immunity to diseases, and the younger a child is when he or she becomes infected with a disease like measles, the more severe it is likely to be.
One Parisian mother stated,
I think that the new legislation is for the pharmaceutical companies.
in actuality, many pharmaceutical companies have sold their patents on vaccines or stopped making them because of their high production cost and low profit margins. Additionally, most places in the US and France offer vaccines at little to no cost to parents.
As a result of the skepticism toward vaccination, there have been outbreaks of communicable diseases around the world over the past decade.
Measles was virtually eliminated from the U.S. a decade ago, so we were surprised to hear that measles infected at least 19 people who visited Disney theme parks in California.
With tens of thousands of visitors from around the world in close contact every day, the happiest place on Earth was an ideal place for the highly contagious disease to spread. Of those infected, more than half were not vaccinated.
By the end of this outbreak, 91 people from 14 states were infected with measles. We visited Disneyland Paris to visualize how catastrophic it could be if a child with measles visited an amusement park. We soon became well aware that it truly is a small world after all, and it will take a worldwide effort to prevent measles outbreaks. For each person who gets measles, they will spread it to 15 other people on average. Someone with measles may be infecting those around them before symptoms appear and without even knowing they have it. There are countless public surfaces at a place like Disneyland that thousands of people touch each day, and the measles virus remains active for 2 hours after an infected person leaves the area. It is easy to see how Disneyland is an optimal place for an opportunistic virus like measles.
While the outbreak at Disney was particularly severe, skipping the trip to an amusement park will not ensure the health of an unvaccinated child. Although the MMR vaccine is required for children to attend school in the U.S., parents may obtain a waiver to abstain from vaccinating their child, so long as they attend an informational session at their local health department. In 2016, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled that if there is an outbreak of measles in Michigan, children who are not vaccinated against the disease will be excluded from school to prevent them from becoming infected. Dr. Adrienne Friedrich, a second-year resident in general medicine at Hôpital Necker-Enfants Malades in Paris, immediately responded no when asked if he thinks France should offer a waiver option. He also stated that many French parents fear potential side effects of vaccines, but should not be skeptical due to evidence-based medicine and the need to protect at-risk populations. The French law will, in fact, offer a waiver option, but it will not be easy to obtain due to the necessity of high immunization rates to prevent outbreaks.
Aaron Johnson stated,
"In Africa, people will walk for days to get a vaccine
because they have seen children around them suffer through diseases like measles. Hopefully, our society will not have to experience measles on the scale it was at prior to the invention of the MMR vaccine to learn that vaccination is the best course of action for their child and children all over the world." In conclusion, the U.S. should mandate vaccination at the federal level so that preventable diseases do not become epidemics, the way measles is currently in France.